Following the disastrous Battle of Stalingrad, which ended on February 2, 1943, Adolf Hitler and the German General Staff were desperate to regain the initiative on the Eastern Front. On May 3, Hitler met with Germany's major generals in Munich to decide battle strategy. A plan conceived by General Erich von Manstein called for luring Russian forces to attack a 75-mile bulge in the German lines. A German retreat toward the Dnieper River would cause attacking Russian forces to overextend their lines. A reinforced German army would counterattack on the flanks, causing severe damage to Russian forces. Hitler, however, preferred a more aggressive plan in which Germany would strike first instead of waiting for a Russian attack. This plan was proposed by his chief of the Army General Staff, Kurt Seitzler. It called for an attack by elite German divisions on a Russian 150-mile wide bulge that stretched from the city of Kursk to north of the industrial city of Kharkov. A large and heavily mechanized force would attack Russian forces from three sides, surrounding them as German tanks, reinforced by new Panther and Tiger tanks, would launch blitzkrieg attacks on Russian forces from the north and south. Seitzler's plan, named Operation Citadel, received Hitler's support after 2 days of debate. The attack was planned for May, so that the tank-slowing mud of the Russian Sprint 4, which would be dry by May, would not present a problem. Delays in production of Tiger tanks and tank-killing Ferdinand self-propelled guns caused Hitler to delay the start of Operation Citadel until July 4th. Meanwhile, Russia's spy network codenamed Lucy was able to obtain many details about the operation. The Russian commander, Marshal Georgy Zhukov, ordered deep minefields, consisting of hundreds of thousands of anti-tank and anti-personnel mines, to be set along the salient at Kursk. Anti-tank trenches were dug, and thousands of camouflaged anti-tank guns were moved into position. A force of 3,100 planes, 3,600 tanks, and 1.3 million Russian soldiers was in place to blunt the attack by an expected 900,000 German troops outfitted into 50 divisions, 17 of which were armoured. German forces were supported by about 2,700 tanks and 1,800 aircraft. German forces attacked in two major groups, north and south, with thin lines in the middle. The battle commenced with preliminary attacks on July 4th, as General Walter Model's 4th Panzer Division attempted to take Soviet outposts in the south. The Luftwaffe bombed Soviet front positions in the north. By evening, both sides attempted to weaken each other by concerted artillery bombardment. The major clash came on July 5th, as the Russian Air Force attempted to obliterate Luftwaffe bases. What is likely the largest air battle ever fought in a single day followed during the next few hours. The air battle proved to be a draw. Neither side gained air superiority. However, the new Soviet Illinois II, formidable ground attack plane, the Yak-9 Soviet fighter plane, and the skill of Soviet pilots proved to be a match for the formidable German Luftwaffe.
Unsere Jäger wackeln zum Zeichen des Sieges.
Following the air battle, Army Group North launched a major frontal attack. In spite of the incredible depth of Russian defenses, Army Group North was able to penetrate nearly 6 miles into Russian defenses during the opening days of the battle. The penetration, though, resulted in the German tanks being open to close-range anti-tank fire from their more lightly armored sides. The commander of Russian Central Forces, General Konstantin Rokossovsky responded by sending into the breach anti-tank and artillery brigades supported by 350 fighter planes. By July 7th, the northern attack ground to a halt as the Germans lost 25,000 soldiers and 200 tanks. Southern German forces under General Hermann Hoth, which consisted of 600 tanks and 300,000 soldiers, pressed on the attack by swinging south of Russia's defense line. The southern forces wound up 50 miles southeast of Kursk, near the small village of Prokhorovka. Their movements, however, were closely followed by the Russians. On July 12th, the largest tank battle in human history took place at Prokhorovka, as 1,500 tanks maneuvered to destroy each other at relatively close range in the middle of blinding dust. The situation nullified the advantage new German tanks had in armament and firepower over the Soviet T-34 tank, the staple of the Russian army, which had not undergone significant improvement since the start of the war. Also working against Germany were the continual malfunctions of its new Panther tanks. The Panther's design problems would not be corrected until the winter of 1943. Instead of an organized conflict, the Battle of Kursk was a series of encounters in which necessity dictated tactics. German technical advantages were more than offset by Russian numerical advantages. By the end of the day on July 12th, German forces had lost 350 tanks and 10,000 soldiers. A Russian counteroffensive led remaining forces under General Hoth to stage a tactical retreat. By July 23rd, Hoth's forces were driven back to where the ill-fated Operation Citadel had begun. Meanwhile, continued attacks on the southern front led to the liberation of the city of Kharkov on August 23rd. On July 12th in the north, Zhukov had launched a counteroffensive against surviving German forces. Within 3 weeks, Zhukov would retake the city of Oral. The Battle of Kursk officially ended on July 12th, and so did Germany's capacity to launch major offensives on the Eastern Front.
Jedes aus taktischen Gründen von unseren Truppen aufgegebene Gelände kostet den Feind schwerste Verluste. Diese Kampfbilder des gefallenen Kriegsberichters Sengewitz. Ein bolschewistischer Schützenangriff wird von unseren Grenadieren abgewiesen. Da hinten die Sowjets.
The date also marks the official beginning of the Russian juggernaut, which pushed German forces out of Russia and much of Eastern Europe back to the very gates of Berlin. Also on July 12th, Anglo-American forces were in their second day of marching through Sicily, unopposed by the Italian army, preparing to land on the Italian mainland. For Hitler, this meant withdrawing key units from Russia to meet his newest crisis. Angered at the General Staff, which came up with the idea of the failed Operation Citadel, Hitler withdrew into increasing isolation. No longer trusting his generals, Hitler micromanaged most future troop movements. The Allied invasion of Sicily, also known as the Battle of Sicily and Operation Husky, was a major campaign of World War II in which Allied forces invaded the Italian island of Sicily in July 1943. These events led to the ousting of Italian leader Benito Mussolini and the fall of his regime, which was replaced by a new government. Italy's collapse necessitated German troops replacing Italian forces in the country, and resulting in 1/5 of the entire German army being diverted from the Kursk of the Eastern Front. A proportion that would remain until near the end of the war. In mid-August, the Germans had activated Army Group B with responsibility for German troops in Italy as far south as Pisa. Army Command South under Albert Kesselring continued to be responsible for southern Italy, and the German High Command formed a new army headquarters to be Army Command South's main field formation. The new German 10th Army headquarters, commanded by Heinrich von Wietinghoff, was activated on the 22nd of August. The German 10th Army had 2 subordinate corps with a total of 6 divisions transferred from the Eastern Front to Italy were positioned to cover possible landing sites. Under Hermann Bork's 14th Panzer Corps was the Hermann Göring Airborne Panzer Division, 15th Panzer Grenadier Division and 16th Panzer Division, and under Traugott Herr's 76th Panzer Corps was 26th Panzer Division, 29th Panzer Grenadier Division and 1st Parachute Division. Von Wietinghoff specifically positioned the 16th Panzer Division in the hills above the Salerno plain. Although one of the shortest battles of World War II, the Battle of Kursk was the largest tank battle in the history of warfare and is considered a major turning point in the war. Although the Soviet Union lost nearly 200,000 troops to Germany's 50,000, the battle was a Soviet victory. The German army lost its capacity to launch any further offensives on the Eastern Front, and it began a long tactical retreat while a reinvigorated Soviet army began an advance that led to the gates of Berlin. It was clear that the fall of the Third Reich was not a matter of if but of when. The Battle of Kursk also stands as testimony to the Red Army's coming of age. Defensive tactics perfected by the Russians were able to stop German blitzkrieg tactics. Russian counter-offensive tactics led to the retreat of German forces, providing the opportunity to plan strategic offensive maneuvers.